Hello, Assalamualaikum. My name is Muhammad Adib bin Azahari from group 800118. Today, in this video, I will talk about how do seed become a plant. Okay.
What is the origin of seed? Unless the plant reproduces through spores or vegetatively, life begins with seeds. They are result of a flower or structure that resembles a flower. Seeds are sometimes, but not always, in fruits. Also, what is a seed, you ask? The seed is discovered inside a fruit that, when given the right growing circumstance, transform into a new plant. So, what are the ideal circumstances for growth? The condition is seeds that need to grow need soil for nutrients that keep them healthy and for a nice place and sturdy for their spread their root to grow. You already know that seeds need sunlight to process photosynthesis so they can make food. Plants require this energy to grow, bloom, and produce seeds. Without adequate light, carbohydrate cannot be manufactured. The energy reserves are depleted and plants die. Next, plants need water. Water also helps move nutrients from the soil into the plant. Too little water can cause a plant to wither or droop. Too much water can cause plants' roots to rot. Planting a seed is easy as piece of cake. Even child could do it. So, without further ado, let's get to it. Now that we fulfill those conditions, we can start planting. Awesome. But first, we need a container to put the soil in. We can get any kind of container size in the nearest garden center. When choosing a pot for a new plant, make sure you select one that has drainage holes and give the plant room to grow. Fill the pot or container with the soil and make sure it doesn't reach pot edge. You must not use garden soil because it contains bacteria that can be harmful to your plant. So make sure to use appropriate soil. After that, you form the soil to push down the earth with your hand. Water the soil until it's moisture, but make sure not to pour much water into the soil. If the soil is too wet, seed can rot and disappear. Then, drop the seed on the soil, leaving a little distance between each one. The distance between seeds is important because if seeds are not sown at the proper distance, there will be a competition between the plants for consuming sunlight, water, and space. Cover the seed twice the height of the seeds. If you plant seeds too deep, they may fail to germinate. Alternatively, if you plant them too shallow, you could expose tender roots at germination, or the seeds could even wash away entirely. Next is water. Dampen and firm the soil again. The reason why we need the soil to be wet is that seeds absorb the water from the soil and provide moisture to the embryo. After that, level the seed with the date you plant the seed. This won't affect the growth of your plant, but in case you want to know what date you sow the seed or what type of seed you sow. Finally, leave it to grow. Wait for 1 to 2 weeks and then check your plant grows. It is important to keep soil water so the soil surface never dries out and remain moist. For your information, when a plant grows slowly, it's usually because something is wrong with it. It is in the wrong position, in the incorrect sort of soil, exposed to much light or shade, or overwatered or infected with a pest or diseases. So make sure to check your plant every week so they can grow healthy. Now we go to the process of germination. Now that finally we plant the seed, let's see what exactly happened after you sow the seed, which we call the germination of seed. What is the germination of seed? The process of seed germinating into a new plant is known as germination. What is the condition of the germination of seeds? Some seeds need light, others need darkness, but all the seeds need oxygen, moisture, and the correct temperature in order to germinate. Once the conditions are appropriate, the plant inside starts to grow. When the seed is full, it pops open. The first part of the seed to come through the seed coat were a cotyledon and the root. The root takes hold of the soil and starts to consume food from the soil. But because it's still so tiny, the cotyledon is still the seed's main source of food. The epicotyl continues to grow upward with hypocotyl, and thus the epicotyl becomes the first leaves of the new plants. But the time to epicotyl or show the plant is now above the ground. When this happens, the cotyledon fall off the plant and become part of the soil because their work is complete. Once the cotyledon is done, the plant tiny leaves takes over the job, which is to apply food to the new plant with the help of the photosynthesis. So, that is the process of the germination of the seed. I hope you enjoyed my explanation. But before we end this video, we're going to look at a popular question that most often asked in online. So, the first question is, how often do we need to water the seeds? Seeds should be watered at least once a day to keep the soil moist and prevent it from drying out. You may need to water more than once a day each day in particularly hot location or depending on your soil or garden arrangement. Make sure your seed or seedling have sufficient water by checking on them periodically. Okay, next question. In most cases, how often do we need to change the soil in a potted plant? In most cases, we'll need to change the soil in our indoor plants every 12 to 18 months. Next question, when do you apply fertilizer? As your plant develops, any fertilizer in the seed starting mix will be quickly depleted, and you'll need to start giving them a supplementary fertilizer. Fertilize your seedling as soon as they get their first real leaves. The cotyledon are the first leaves that sprout from a seed. Next question is, what happens if you don't moisture soil after sowing the seed? To germinate, all seeds require water, oxygen, and the proper temperature, like I explained that. Dormancy is a state of dormancy in which seeds wait to germinate until the conditions are favorable for survival and growth, which in this case, there is no water, the seed will not sprout. Why didn't my seed germinate? If your seed have not sprouted within the appropriate number of days, then most likely or the most common reason could be the seed are not viable. You can check your seed whether it's viable or not by simply pouring the seed in the container of water. And if the seeds are floating, they are not viable. Just discard them and choose only those that sunk to the bottom. I think that's all for me. I hope that cover all the topic for my presentation. Have a good day and goodbye.